Hello and welcome to Cupcake Addiction's Angry Bird Cake Pop tutorial, where we'll be showing you how to make Angry Birds cake pops. Today we're making the red and the blue Angry Bird. Tools and equipment that we will be using today. I have 2 cake pop balls. We have a great recipe and tutorial on our channel to get your balls to this stage ready to decorate. I've got a little bit of white fondant. You could also use white modelling chocolate, which we have a recipe for on our channel. I've got a fondant roller or just a regular rolling pin, some lollipop sticks. I've got quite a sharp knife with quite a thin blade. I've got some red candy melted. I've got some white chocolate that I've just tinted blue with some Wilton Sky Blue colour paste. A little bit of corn flour in my corn flour shaker for rolling out that fondant. Some dark chocolate, a little bit of caramel fudge, an Oreo cookie, some toothpicks or cocktail sticks, 1 yellow piece of taffy or a yellow fruit chew, a circular piece of soft eating licorice. You could also use black fondant, and I've got a circle cookie cutter. Mine's about 4 centimetres or 1.5 inches. Let's get started. Firstly, we're going to dip our cake pop balls, or I guess put our sticks in our cake pop balls and get them ready to pop into the fridge to set. So we'll do the red one first. As always, we're just going to take the stick, dip it into those red candy melts, and pop it into the bottom of our Angry Bird, about 1 centimetre to 1.5 centimetres. And the same again for our blue bird. So dip and insert into the bottom. Now for the little, I guess you call them the crests of the bird, I'm just going to split that Oreo in half. We'll eat that half and break it again. So you've got there your 2 little crest pieces. Now, so that they sit in nicely, I'm going to support this because that seal's not quite set yet, and I'm just going to cut in a bit of a wedge. See there, I've just got a little bit of a wedge. Try to make sure it's as centered as you can. Something about that size in the center of your Angry Bird, and we're going to do that again for the blue. So once again, just cutting in a nice little, or cutting out I guess, a nice little wedge. Now take those Oreos. I found it better not to dip the Oreos into the chocolate because the chocolate actually gets little crumbs of Oreo in it. So I'm just going to spoon some of that blue chocolate for the blue one, or knife some of that blue chocolate, and I'm just going to slide that into our cake pop. A little bit of a mohawk on a cake pop ball. Do that again for the red. For our red Angry Bird. And slide it in. Now those 2 are going to pop off to the fridge, where they're going to be refrigerated for about 5 or 10 minutes until those pieces are fully set. Okay, while those ones are setting in the fridge, we'll get to work on some of our details. Firstly, I'm going to make the eyes, so I'm just going to take a little bit of that white fondant. We're just going to make 4 nice white eyes. I like to do this first when my hands are nice and clean, because you really don't want to get any little bits of Oreo or anything like that. So I'm just going to roll a little ball, about a pea-sized ball, then I'm going to tear it in half, and that should give us 2 even-sized little eye shapes when I press it out with my fingers. So I'm literally just pushing it in between my fingers. Gives you a nice sort of a circle shape. You can even it off like that if you need to. And again for our second Angry Bird. If you love our tutorials, make sure that you subscribe to our channel. We upload several times a week. We've got lots of great stuff coming out. We try to keep you up to date on what's going on in the world of cakes, cupcakes and cake pops. Alright, there's our 4 eyes ready to go. Now for our red bird, we're going to use some of this black licorice. Now I'm going to cut off either end because the ends of it are quite nice and shiny, so I'm using my sharp little knife, and with a bit of a sawing motion so that I don't squish it out of shape, I'm just going to cut off both of those ends. That's going to make the little black background, and then I'm going to cut down the middle and just get the thickest, sort of, I guess, thickest area that I can. So just cut a bit of a strip out of the middle. Out of that strip, I'm just going to cut 2 triangles for the red bird's eyebrows, angry eyebrows. So I've cut these 2 pieces. Now our blue bird needs the little bit of caramel fudge. So we really only need just a tiny, tiny little bit of this, and I'm just going to pinch that off. This one here, I'm just going to roll a very, very small little ball, squish it out with my finger to make a circle, and then cut it in half. They're going to make his little, I guess they kind of look like bags under his eyes. Put those there. And then a couple of beaks. So I've popped my fruit chew or my bit of yellow taffy in the microwave for about 10 seconds. Don't over microwave it because it will get really hot and burn your fingers, but it just makes it a little bit more pliable. So I'm just going to pull off a little piece and work it with my fingers just to get it moving a little bit, and then we're going to make it into a beak. So a red angry bird has quite a pointed beak. So what you want to do is you just want to squeeze it into a bit of a triangular shape. Point it out at the front. Make sure you've got a relatively flat back to it, because that's going to stick into those candy melts. And then I'm going to take the knife and just make a little indent there. That's going to be the beak for my red guy. Put those down near his red, well, near the red guy's eyes, I guess. And then another piece. This one's a little bit easier. It's just going to be just a straight, small triangle of yellow taffy. Beautiful. This is our blue guy's beak. Alright, time to get our cake pops out of the fridge. Okay, so we're back from the fridge. You can see my lovely little chocolate seals have set. So it's time for dipping. Now for our blue one, I want to get his little blue accessories ready to go on. I'm going to, you can see I've used quite a deep container there. I'm just going to dip it in, make sure that chocolate meets up with that seal, and then pull it out. And when I tap, I like to just hold it in my hand and then tap my wrist. Send chocolate flying kind of everywhere. That's dipped sufficiently when that chocolate stops dripping. Now from here, we're going to attach his beak by just popping it on. Very easy. Then we're going to take the 2 little under eye sags. If you work quickly, you should be able to do this while your chocolate is still drying. 1 little under eye sag, and the other one. You should have something that looks like this. Now for the eyes, I'm going to just turn them over so that I've got the back. Because that chocolate's really starting to dry, I'm not happy that they're going to stick straight into it. I'm going to take one of my cocktail sticks and just pop a little bit of blue chocolate on the back of each eye. Then I'm going to pop the eyes in slightly over those little saggy baggy bits. Again with the other one. You want to try and meet those eyes up in the middle and try not to get anything on them. To be as white as possible. Take a cocktail stick, dip it into that dark chocolate. This is literally the only thing we use dark chocolate for. And just give him a couple of eyeballs. The easiest angry bird. Moving on to the red one. Firstly with the red one, I want to roll out a little bit more of that fondant to make his little breast piece. Cut a nice little circle, and with your circle just cut a little line and then another little line. That's just going to be somewhere for our lollipop stick to be able to pop through. Now into those red candy melts. So you want to take your cake pop once again and dip. Give it a nice little twirl around until you're happy that it's completely covered. Pull it out. You can see how thick those candy melts are in comparison to the blue chocolate. I always add Kofa, vegetable shortening, or Crisco. Either of those is fine, but I always add this to my candy melts or to my chocolate when I'm melting it. It stops it from burning so much, but it really helps it to be a bit more of an even consistency. Now while he's still wet, you're going to take that piece of fondant, that fondant breast piece, and pop it on the bottom. Don't push too hard around the edges because you don't want to create wrinkles where it's actually moving the chocolate. And then his beak, just at the top of that breast piece. Do make sure, I can see I'm a bit off center here, make sure that you're lining it up with his little crest. You don't want to have a lopsided angry bird, then he'd be really angry. Alright, taking those black pieces, so once again with that dark chocolate, one eyeball, two eyeball. Now for this guy we want him to be particularly angry. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to wait for that to completely set. While I'm waiting, I'm just going to push up around here and just make sure that that lovely little breast piece or chest piece is really, really nice and firm. Alright, so I've let that initial candy shell set quite a bit, and now I'm just going to take a bit more of that melted candy wafer and just build up the eyebrow area, because we want him to have quite angry eyebrows and we want them to sit flush with the eyes, not in right behind the eyes. You can see there I'm just stacking on a little bit of candy melt. Let it dry in between if you've got quite a ways to go. It'll depend on how thick you've cut your bits of licorice and your little pieces of fondant. You should have something that looks like this. You can see there I've built it up quite a bit just behind the eyes. Now take your eyebrows, a little bit more of that melted candy melt. Make sure that you've got something there for the eyebrows to sit on. And we're going to adhere those. One and two. Make sure you let those ones completely set. There you have your super cool Angry Birds cake pops. Make sure you check out our channel for the yellow bird and the pig so you can make the whole set at home. Thanks very much for watching.